So I am Smitesh from EGI Foundation, and yes, it's about the report, sustainability report, but I'll come to that later. So I was one of the 16 people who did answer. I don't know about Galaxy at all. So if you do have any questions after the end of my presentation, ask them to Bjorn. The spelling is wrong, but it's the same one. He knew what was coming, so he has made himself scarce or has hidden in a corner somewhere. I can't find him, but he's there somewhere. So you can ask him the questions. I know we are running late, so I'll try to make it short. Here's the link to the report, read it, and that's the end of my talk. Thank you. But if we, well, I do have to present, I came all the way here, so maybe I should talk a little more than that. So just to be clear, the sustainability is, we're talking about the capacity of the systems to maintain themselves over a long period of time, and we're not talking about the environmental sustainability. So when I did start doing this analysis for Galaxy, I was kind of a bit lost. Couple of problems were that I couldn't find much references or research on this topic on how do you showcase for something like Galaxy, which has been around for 20 years, how do you showcase it as sustainable? I mean, it's been used by so many users and we've seen the numbers and so on. But how do you really try to showcase it? Because oftentimes when I had conversations with people about this topic, it ended up being that, sustainable, do you have funds? So it kind of, this equation became very, very linear in terms of sustainable equal to you're funded, right? And I found this interesting talk on the real cost of open sustainability, which was given at CERN almost 6 years ago. And it kind of talks about similar things. And it says how you need much more things for sustaining something like open source system in long term. And that's basically the core idea behind the whole report, which is about 60 pages long. I know it's long and many people have complained to me about it, and that's why they haven't read it. But maybe this presentation gives you some inspiration to actually end up doing it, right? Uh, so the core of the approach kind of is built on this desirability, viability framework. It's from design thinking. It was developed by IDEO, if you know the famous design agency. And it kind of is, it talks about how if a product is desirable to its user, if it is feasible technologically, and if it is, of course, viable business-wise, what that's the sweet spot of innovation, and you should build that new product or service. So I thought, well, why don't we use the same logic to kind of showcase for something which is already existing, right? So since Galaxy is an already established platform and open source on top of it, of course, I had to reinterpret these dimensions a little. So desirability is still around, whether it serves users, and so on. Feasibility changes a little to whether the there is capacity of the community to maintain the solution technologically. And viability, we don't look at the business profit terms, of course, but we look at the impact of Galaxy on the scientific community. So let's quickly go through one by one. I won't show every graph I have in the report because it will be here until 5:30 otherwise, but okay, I hope you can see it, but I don't think the GIF is working as well as I thought it would. But this is, imagine there is a tumbleweed growing across the screen right now. It's not working, but just imagine. And you can close your eyes and fall asleep as well if you want, if that helps with imagination. But this is how oftentimes adoption for a lot of services and product looks like. There's nobody there. Thankfully for Galaxy, and it's now working. So it looks something like this, not exactly. It didn't start like this, but today it looks more like this. So if you look at the graph for active users, there are like thousands of active users every month, which is quite a good number. It also is somewhat of a direct indication of how Galaxy does solve the problem for its users and meets their needs, right? And of course, these users run millions of jobs every month. There was a peak somewhere in mid 2021. I don't know what kind of world-ending event was happening during then. And maybe you can talk to me about it later on and explain why that was happening. But they are still running millions of jobs every month. But you can see some seasonality, if you look at the data more in depth, you'll see that there are peaks in September and October, and in July and August, and in December, you see some drops. Uh, but these numbers can be very scary, especially for the software developer parts, if you do not control them and manage them properly, this stampede of incoming users will kind of lead to unreliable services and you might get crushed underneath them. Remarkably, we're not doing that bad. We started very bad, or not that bad, actually 10%. But today we are at 7% of job error rates. Now, there could be many reasons for error rates. I mean, there can be user mistakes and stuff like that. But the fact that even though the number of jobs which are being run on Galaxy has improved like tenfold, the error rates have actually declined over the years, which is both a testament to the stability of the platform and also probably for the trainings and the tutorials which are available. Which is a good segue into the feasibility part, so the community's capability of building a good stable platform. For a lot of open source projects, this is what happens. There's one guy, person in the middle trying to hold it all together somehow. Galaxy is a bit more Avengers Assemble kind of a situation, right? We do have a good number of contributors. By contributors here, we mean people who are writing a piece of code or submit or manage pull requests in all the repositories for Galaxy. So the number is roughly around 250 per year in the past 10 years or so. So I'm a capitalist by nature. So for me, this is already a problematic thing. The number remaining stable. I need to see a increasing, graph like this, which Bjorn doesn't agree with me, but well, we'll get to that later on. But at least we can say that, even though the community is losing people, it's always attracting more people to kind of keep up with that gap. So this pattern of new blood balancing out who kind of step back is a good indicator that it's not stagnating or it's not trapped and just relying on a handful of old people. It's managing to onboard some fresh contributors every year. And on the other hand, these people, even though the number remains uh, consistent, they are closing and creating and closing more and more pull requests every year. There are more numbers which kind of support this argument in terms of issues and so on, but you get an idea. Now, with all these graphs, you might start feeling, oh, it's such a nice project. I don't want you to have that expression. It's not all rosy. If we look at the bus factor as an example, there is some cause for concern. I don't know how many of you know what bus factor is, just some of you. So it's a very, very dramatic phrase, which means how many people from the project need to get hit by a bus so that the project becomes problematic because the knowledge is in those people, right? There is also a truck factor, which is the same thing, but the truck falls off the cliff and so on. I don't know who came up with these numbers, these terms, but I couldn't look at every repository. There's like 120 repositories in the main Galaxy project. I looked at some of the key ones, and the bus factor is in single digits, which is compared to some of the open source projects, not bad again, but I don't like it. But that's up to you guys to fix it a little more. There are other numbers, if you look at it, which showcase some sort of more need for better work. Like 3 out of 4 users leave after 2 months, so they don't stay around for long term. Which also is a consequence that almost 4% of the users run about 80 to 85% of the jobs in Galaxy. So there are numbers, and there's need for more analysis to understand why this is happening and what Galaxy can do to kind of retain these users for a longer period of time, right? Now, this is the most weakest part of my report because I could not come up with a good structure to understand the impact. As you can imagine, it's a bit more complicated discussion, how do you measure impact of something like a galaxy? Well, one of the easiest way was to look at publications. I mean, this is there every year in the galaxy reports. The number is probably more than 13,000 now. There are a good number of patents and so on. Another aspect is, I think there was a talk in the morning about how, because I think it was Daniela's talk where she mentioned that she didn't know how to code, but she could still use Galaxy, which is kind of the core philosophy of Galaxy to make this computational analysis accessible and reproducible to everybody. Also, I mean, if you look at existing funding, right? Galaxy has received funding from multiple national and international bodies, scientific bodies, which is a testament that it can. I'm trying. Okay, no, wrong slide. Okay. Oh, yeah, there we go. Yeah, so its existing support is testaments to its credibility and success. So it's a known quantity and has a proven track record of managing funds over 20 years, right? So it's been backed by all these scientific agencies across the world, which is a good thing. And that's all I have to say because that's all I could manage to write about it. But if you have more ideas, there's an updated version of this report to come out sometime in future, so we could do more work on this aspect. So just bringing it all together, if we've seen that by its adoption numbers that it does fulfill some critical need for the user. It's not just popular among users; it's robust and it's well managed. It began as an academic project and is no longer that. It's matured into some sort of a global collaboration with strong backbone. And it has great value, but it has created some great value in terms of its impact on science. So it's not just now an isolated community project, it's becoming a globally recognized resource of some form. So if you are putting your investment hat on, if you're a person who wants to invest in Galaxy ecosystem as an institution who wants to adopt it, or as a user who wants to take it's kind of a smart and strategic choice, right? So the risk is low right now because the community is established, it's there, it's active, and it's not just going to disappear on you overnight. Uh, on the other hand, the potential rewards for you to contribute is kind of high. So every tool or every piece of code or line that you do submit to Galaxy has a cascading effect on other people who are using Galaxy. So few infrastructure, a few investments, in my opinion, have such kind of a broad enabling effect. And that's it from me. Any questions for Bjorn?